the first episode of our podcast in the year 2022. I am so excited that you all are joining me today. We release a brand new podcast fortnightly on our channel, Dermatologist Talks Science of Beauty, which is available on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Today's episode is going to be all about my predictions for skincare trends for 2022. This on top of my personal skincare must-haves for the new year. This will be part of a series running through the whole of January about the top skincare trends that we expect to look out for. I think we have all heard of home devices in 2020, 2021, and I think that they are here to stay in 2022. The continued emphasis on home-based self-care regimens in particular, they incorporate elements of office-based treatments, which are available previously only when one visits a dermatologist. It is key that we focus on the types of these technologies which are being incorporated in home facial devices, because discerning the efficacy of a home facial device will very much depend on the type of technology it is based on. Let me explain why. This is because many of these facial devices have simply not been around long enough or have not gathered sufficient data in a clinical trial setting for dermatologists to effectively comment on whether they are indeed efficacious. What we can do instead is to postulate based on our existing knowledge and database about the existing technologies and also how well they have worked in terms of studies as well as trials that have been performed. So before you decide which skin investment to make this year, be sure to research the types of the technologies involved in the manufacturing of these devices. My top picks for best technologies for home facial devices are the following: radiofrequency, microcurrent, and also microdermabrasion. These are my top picks for effective delivery with skincare benefits via these small handheld home systems. Well, I get a lot of feedback about home devices being white elephants, and some of these come from my patients. It's very interesting for us to touch on the possible reasons behind this. What do you think? Well, let me first go into the possible reasons why one does not make use of these home facial devices even after purchasing it. And if you are one of those that have this situation happening to you, then hopefully my explanation here may help to serve as a guide as to how to overcome this. Also, if you are planning to get a home facial device to augment your skincare regimen in 2022, hopefully this can serve as a guide for our choices in terms of the best home facial device that we could choose within our budget, of course. Now, first up, the lack of efficacy is a possible reason why one eventually stops using a home device. Well, if you've already invested hundreds of dollars on your home facial device of choice and it's sitting idly on your vanity table, hopefully these are tips that can help you get started on what I believe is truly a skincare must-have in year 2022 and beyond. Well, if you've done your research and purchased the right home facial device. And in this case, I am referencing evidence-based technologies, radiofrequency, microcurrent, microdermabrasion. These work very well as home facial devices, especially when from a reputed skincare brand. You need to understand, first of all, how these actually work. So that will serve as a real motivation for you to start using them. Now, the great thing is that microcurrent and microdermabrasion are actually very well suited for at-home facial devices because the technology itself enables literally an instant result that is visible to the naked eye. So this is the sort of gratification that we need when it comes to habit forming. If you're not having the habit of using a home facial device, choosing the right home facial device will make all the difference. Let me explain how these two technologies work. So first of all, microdermabrasion specifically targets the superficial layers of skin cells known as the corneocytes in the stratum corneum. Well, we know that effective cell renewal rates directly impact skin radiance. And when we are looking for an instant overall brightening effect, we actually need to look at how products can target the topmost layer of skin cells. An effective method of achieving this is via chemical peels, which utilize alpha hydroxy or beta hydroxy acids to exfoliate the top layer of skin on a microscopic level. However, it is not recommended to use the higher strength of chemical peel concentrations at home, and in fact, in countries like Singapore, it is not possible to procure these legally. This is because of the risk of chemical burns, which can be caused by leaving on the acids for too long. Accidental contact with critical areas such as your eyes or your mouth area. These are all reasons why home chemical peels should not be allowed. What is a good and effective alternative is microdermabrasion. Many of you may have heard of diamond microdermabrasion. These are effective for removing the same topmost layer of skin cells in a mechanical fashion. Also, with a gentle vacuum suction, overall, this stimulates collagen production and can enhance delivery of antioxidant solutions. However, the diamond microdermabrasion tool is reserved for use in clinic or at least professional settings because it can be quite abrasive and does require training to operate it safely. Alternative microdermabrasion technologies can be utilized in home devices. For example, we actually incorporated a nanoparticle impregnated copper ion tip that delivers positive ions to your skin at the same time performing a gentle abrasive action using vacuum technology. Now, this is the reason why it enables instant brightening. It actually exfoliates the top layer of your skin cells. If you have heard of instant brightening skincare or instant beauty products, which seem to be all the rage these days, then be aware that there could actually be some scientific basis behind these claims. For instance, vacuum microdermabrasion does directly target the root cause of skin dullness, which is the retention of dead skin cells, as well as delayed cell renewal cycles as one grows older. So this sort of instant brightening effect after using a home facial device is actually very satisfying and is one of the reasons that can encourage you to keep using your home facial device. Now, I want to talk a little bit about skin dullness here. because it's actually linked to environmental factors which we can control. So in terms of biological aging, we know that as we grow older, our skin cells increasingly find it stressful to repair DNA damage. And this is the reason why a lot of physical signs of skin aging, such as fine lines, wrinkles, irregular skin texture, and large pores, come about. The other aspect of skin dullness has to do with the deposition of particulate matter. These are pollutants, which we call PM2.5 particulate matter, that exist in our environment. Whether you're indoors or outdoors, these can have an impact on the quality of your skin, especially now that we know more and more about the latest research on skin aging. Let me share a little bit about this. The skin exposome concept is actually the latest model of skin aging that scientists are studying. It is closely linked to the physiological process of inflammaging, a term coined primarily by oncologists to describe the processes that work together to eventually lead to cancer formation. This is also the reason why our organs degenerate as we grow older. So it is no surprise that it is the same for the skin, the largest organ of the body. I want to share a little bit now about microcurrent. It is the other technology which I feel that deserves a lot more attention in terms of home facial devices. It is actually very well evidenced in wound healing studies where it's demonstrated significant stimulation of collagen production. And when it is incorporated in a home facial device, it suggests that it will be equally effective. Now, first of all, it is very safe, and unlike other forms of therapy such as laser or even high-intensity focused ultrasound HIFU, which have to be performed in a clinic setting and by licensed personnel, microcurrent, as its name suggests, is actually based on low levels of electrical current that seem to work as effectively in terms of stimulating collagen production and without the additional hassle of visiting a therapist or a clinic. Now, some tips on choosing an effective microcurrent device. It's important that you do your research and get it from a reputable brand. A good microcurrent device should have a 1-year guarantee. For an electrical home device, this will be considered the gold standard, and anything shorter than that is likely not going to be delivering the same amount of electrical current after a few months. It's important for it to be sturdily constructed because the technology itself depends on the ability of the microspheres to conduct the microcurrent effectively. The other top reason why your home facial device may end up being a white elephant is perhaps if you find it difficult to use. I would like to highlight one important fact here, and you can consider it my personal skincare tip, which is human beings are actually creatures of habit, and it is definitely possible for us to change our habits, but we should do so in a gradual way using a method I find is most effective. It's known as habit stacking. I've heard of this term being used in dietary plans, for instance, but I personally utilize it for a lot of my day-to-day tasks. So whatever seems burdensome to your mind, and if it brings about the idea of you actually spending a little bit more energy or effort than you're used to, embrace it, because this extra step is actually very easily overcome. But the key here is actually to increase your tests a little bit at a time. If you already have a good skincare regimen, you'll understand what I mean by it being simply effortless to go through the steps. And in fact, it could even be perceived as therapeutic as part of your self-care regimen. The other key here is to really understand how the technology works, because that will serve as the main motivation for you using it. Now, in 2020, at the start of the pandemic in my clinic, we actually transitioned our patients who were on regular Medifacials to this proprietary device, the Silk Peel, that utilizes the principles of vacuum microdermabrasion in a small handheld device. We supplied them with the same Medifacial solutions compounded by our pharmacy to achieve the same level of the Medifacial experience that they're used to. Would this be the same for a laser device? Well, that's where we really have to understand the science behind this. Lasers are not safely operated in a non-clinical setting, and in fact, it's illegal for non-medical personnel to even possess a laser. So this is an example of a technology that cannot be effectively harnessed for a home care device. However, the selection of specific technologies for Medifacials, examples would include microdermabrasion as well as sonic cleansing, are very effective in home facial care devices. The Korean style Medifacials is actually based on a sonic cleansing technology. It's a very clever incorporation of the ultrasound technology that allows both increased absorption of antioxidant serums at the same time performing an exfoliating function. Well, the other aspect of your home facial device use has to do with the duration that it's involved. So if you're using a device that requires you to spend half an hour or more, it is unlikely that you will persist with it. It is part of our innate coping mechanisms to choose efficient and convenient methods of doing things. So our home care regimen should be envisioned as such as well. So the good thing about most home facial care devices based on microcurrent technology is that it takes only a couple of minutes, 2 to 3 minutes to work through the entire phase, delivering the amount of low-level electrical current that's required for results. Now, the other aspect to consider is in a world of COVID-19, we have to acknowledge that sometimes trips out do actually bring us a certain level of anxiety, let alone maskless procedures, which is really the state of cosmetic and aesthetic procedures. So I feel that home devices really fill the gap, especially for my patients who are very diligent about their skincare and self-care regimen. In the next few podcasts, we'll be touching on other hot trends which I think will dominate the beauty news in 2022. In the meantime, remember to follow me on my Instagram at Dr. Teo Wan Lin, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Science of Beauty, where we promise to release you more videos on skincare education. And in fact, we have a brand new section this year under Skin Sleuth, which is an animated series where I explain the science behind your favorite skincare formulations. This week's Skin Sleuth episode is on the science behind moisturizer therapy. Well, that's it for this week's podcast episode. Remember to check out our podcast website, www.scienceofbeauty.net. We have a new section which allows you to post your comments and feedback after every podcast episode. See you there.